Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how I mirror polished a Tofu60. The Tofu has been a staple in the custom keyboard scene for a while now, and I wanted to do something to make it more unique. This keyboard is going to be used for my upcoming anime project, but the process of polishing the case took so much time and effort, I thought it deserved its own video. This video is by no means a tutorial, I'm just showing off what I did to achieve this effect. I'm definitely not an expert, and this is literally my first time polishing metal. If you have any tips for me for the future, please share them in the comments below. It'll really help me out if I ever decide to do this again. I'll also leave links to all the products that I use in the description if you're interested. And before we get started, remember to like and subscribe to help support my channel. The tofu that I use for this project is the silver aluminum. The polishing process removes the anodization coating anyways, so the starting color doesn't really matter. However, by starting with the silver, I knew I wouldn't have to worry about the various holes in the case not matching the color. I chose the tofu case purposely because it really is just an aluminum box, so working with it should be really easy. Cases that feature rounded edges or fillets would be a lot more difficult to work with. To begin the polishing process, we first need to remove the anodization layer and begin to smooth out the surface. In order to do this, I opted to simply sand the case and use progressively finer grits. I'm using a random orbit sander, which should make the process a lot faster with a more consistent finish. I bought an assortment of sandpaper grits, so I just started with the lowest number and kept advancing to higher and higher numbers as I went along. The lower the number, the rougher the sandpaper is. The really low numbers are better for cutting the surface to make it flat, and the higher numbers remove scratches. After sanding for a while, I learned two things. First, I noticed that the sandpaper was getting clogged a lot. All the small pieces that I was cutting away were sticking into the sandpaper, ultimately making it useless. To prevent that from happening, I just used some WD-40 to lubricate the sandpaper, and it worked a lot better. The second thing I learned is that it's really hard to sand with one hand. I was using one hand to hold the sander and the other to hold the keyboard. I ended up getting some help, so one person would hold the keyboard and the other one would use two hands to sand. In the future, it would be a lot better if I used some clamps to hold down the keyboard so I could do everything myself. But once everything got going, we just repeated the process until we reached the highest grit that I had. The polishing process is very similar to the sanding process in many ways. The only thing that really changes is the use of polishing pads instead of sandpaper. Again, I started with the roughest pad I had, which was a wool pad, and then worked my way to the softest. Instead of using WD-40, I used some metal polish, and really that's all there is to it. If you're interested in supporting projects like this one, consider joining my Patreon. I do spend a good amount of money on supplies, and you can help directly fund these videos. There are things in the future that I would like to do, including getting a 3D printer and even getting a custom designed keyboard manufactured. Joining my Patreon is the best way to support my future projects. And if you want to support my channel in other ways, you can always subscribe and share my videos with a friend. once all the polishing is complete, we're left with a perfectly shiny keyboard case. There are still some really tiny micro scratches that I wasn't able to get out, but you have to look really closely to see them, so I don't really mind. I think it turned out great for my first attempt, and I hope you guys think so too. And like I said before at the beginning of the video, this case is going to be used in the next Animec project, so it's not the last time you'll see it. If you have any questions for me about anything, feel free to leave a comment. Thank you guys for supporting the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.